able to preemptively deal with that. But instead, the composition didn't really have a lot of openings, a lot of opportunity, and then when those openings disappear very early on in the game, it becomes incredibly hard to play out. As we do see the immediate irrelevant and interesting here, so T1 clearly rating that pick still very highly. Also might be a sign that they want to go for an early blind pick now, as that is something that Kana loves. And there we go. There it is.
Yeah.
It is inevitable.
And third ban, Kalista.
Yep. That's the expectation. I do think that with the Ashe open, you could argue that Gen.G is not going to pick Kalista, and thus not banning it away can be excused. Don't know if they actually want to do that though, because it does mean that at points you're going to be forced into locking in Ashe, right? Because Gen.G, knowing them, will probably just still pick Kalista. And that is a Renekton ban. So Rudis Kalista is open. Do you now ban Ashe as Gen.G? No, because T1 might first pick it, because Teddy also has a mean Kalista. As this is what I expected from T1. They've been very reliant on the Rise. It's been one of the main reasons why they've had perma prio and are consistently able to make plays across the entirety of the map. As Gen.G, wait, you're giving this?
That was fast.
Again?
Yeah, who's Kalista? Well, I've never heard of her. Like, Aphelios exists. It is now his best friend, apparently, alongside of Thresh.
No longer is Kalista.
Friendship ended with Kalista.
Yeah.
And we're still thinking about Ashe here. Obviously, can handle this lane relatively well. And we saw what Teddy was able to do on it. Curious to see what goes alongside of it. The Leona makes sense. And it will be selected.
Oh, boy.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. I love this.
I think we saw this a bit in the LPL recently.
Yeah.
The return of the Jarvan.
And Jarvan, in of itself, got a pretty big buff to his mortal cadence, which means that his dueling becomes a lot stronger, right? The extra damage there really makes a big difference. The key thing, though, why I love the Jarvan, is because already within the T1 comp, you have two squishy characters that don't have a dash, right? And fact of the matter is, if you don't have flash available and Clid finds a Cataclysm on you, if you're either Faker, provided that this is the mid lane Rise, which is extremely likely, that we've seen one top Rise, I think, from Keen, if I remember correctly, but that was basically it. Outside of that, it's always been given over to the mid lane, and in this case, considering it's Fake, it makes even more sense. And that brings us to a situation where, like, the moment you get Cataclysms, I don't think it will only be this. I think there will be one more team fight ultimate available for Gen.G with how they've been playing thus far. And even just a Moonlight Vigil into a Cataclysm is just horrifying.
Are we banning Orianna here? BDD has a winning rate on Orianna, and we know that Jarvan is one of the best ball carriers in the game. Goes fantastically alongside of the Aphelios as well. Orianna makes sense. They already banned away his Azir and Syndra, so I think that's just the next best thing when you're looking at this comp that Gen.G have that you need to take away from BDD.
That is next online for BDD. I don't think it necessarily meshes that well together with the composition that they have drafted. But BDD is a creature of habit, in the most positive sense of the word, that the champions that he plays exceptionally. And while that does sometimes hurt Gen.G when they're getting into positions where they're not actually able to get that much done, or where they are punished for their predictability, at the same time, we've seen BDD win lanes that he shouldn't with champions in disadvantageous matchups, just through the sheer power of his comfort on these champions, as the Xin does get locked in here, and now no Gnar, no Cannon, and no Jace. And what is next in line here for Kana? What is he going to blind pick? And the Gwen, yeah, the scaling is good. It is a nice in terms of damage profile, but you gotta imagine that this is a pick that Rascal might be looking for something aggressive early on to really punish it.
Well,
no.
Yeah, I don't think it's that one.
Unless.
But cool story life. I like where your mind's at. We're thinking about set. This is certainly very wombo combo-y in terms of the team fights, obviously. Grab everybody on the enemy team and put them all together in one big ball in the Cataclysm. Make life very nice for the Aphelios.
Not as coherent the draft from Gen.G as last game, I personally think that the Outside of the Zoe, it's pretty much on one theme, you know. Find enemies, 5v5 them, take them down, a lot of engage, a lot of raw power.
I would have liked to see the Akali, actually.
Akali would have been good. We know BDD plays a mean Akali.
Yeah.
But I imagine playing Akali into Faker's Rise means you're just going to sit on the turret the entire game. And with the Zoe, at least there is a amount of setup available and a little bit more wave clear that you can somewhat counteract that shove mid with. And this Gwen, that's a test for me for Kana, because I do think that the Gwen should do well into the set as you get further into the game, but early on might require a lot of attention from Ona. And while Teddy and Carrier, the last time we saw Teddy on this Ashe, did exceptional, and I do think it's a good matchup into the Aphelios. I also thought the Varus was a good matchup into the Aphelios.
Yeah.
And Ruler Alive said no, so...
They didn't really seem to care about what T1 were drafting. They're like, okay, we're just going to play Aphelios Thresh. We're really happy with this. Life was amazing on his Thresh, and Ruler the same for the Aphelios.
You know what would have actually been really good for BDD is Ziggs.
Yeah, I actually would have liked to see it, but...
Did it come through?
Didn't come through.
Mid Ziggs.
If the enemy just doesn't have their flash, then they just lose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like,
that's the comp. That's the comp.
Oh. And that is, of course, something that the Gwen will have an easier time with the dash that she has available. Also, Kana going for Ignite, which I do actually really like into the set. Cuts down on the healing in case of an all-in, and might provide you with even more threat. And this is the key thing, is how you go into the mid to late game as T1. Because if you are putting Kana in a position where he's relatively even, he can be a big side lane threat, then I think you're going to feel a lot better. If Rascal can match him decently, he's able to get ahead early, and you lose that pressure point. I think that the T1 composition is still very good into what Genji has here, right? If you kind of botch and engage as Rascal and Clid, then you get blown up in seconds between the kite back that the T1 comp has available. And in that regard, actually, the Zoe does make a little bit of sense, right? It provides you with one X factor, something that no one on T1 can really deal with outside of Carry, obviously finding a hard engage. No one really has the effective range of dealing with this Zoe, but it all depends on how it's piloted. And generally, with Zoe, there is a lot of space between a well-piloted Zoe and one that isn't. BDD has gone for Scorch to, I'm sure, dismay for many a fan, but is something that he does do in these type of matches. Also gone for Ari, or Ari rather, is nice play.
That was a pretty interesting play. I liked that angle. I don't see that one every time. But yeah. By the way, this is also the first pick for Owner Xinjiao. He has been playing for 24 games before this series, but comes in. Obviously, the first pick for Clid on the Jarvan, too. So this is going to be our jungle matchup where both of these players, obviously they played a lot in terms of scrims and solo queue, but in terms of professional play, it is going to be quite a while.
Come on, Clid.
Do this one.
Good Jarvan, path bot. Level 2 T-Skank. Go get him. And I say it jokingly, but honestly, that is one of the things that the Jarvan does allow you to do. Won't be the case here. I don't. Oh,
really?
They don't know. They don't know.
He really.
There's a ward.
Yeah, there's a ward. But that was so cool. By the way, a casual 28-6 win rate on Clid's Jarvan with a 7.2 KDA.
That's insane.
Yeah, you know, we talk about playoff picks and how. I mean, Gen Z came into game 1 and they played stuff that they've basically been playing all the time. But game 2, I do like the mix-up with the Jarvan here.
This is also something that, like, it's an older one, but it's still the amount of games that have been played on it. But it fits so well with Genji as well, because I think Genji look best when, no matter the game state, they have a good team fight, because that is really where they excel. Yeah, we've seen them take over games early, but they're not a team like T1 that basically takes early games, blows them up, and then forces their opponent to play on the back foot from the get-go. They're not a team like Damwon. I feel Damwon obviously is a lot more diverse in how they approach the game, has a lot more magic to it in how they're able to find openings when no one else does.
Yeah.
Genji, I think, is our most classic LCK team. You know, what you see is what you get. They team fight very well. They play relatively conservative. They're a bit predictable, but they do it very, very well. as Clid able to get that. As there's the bubble.
Yeah, there's the bubble. Flash is coming in, and he's going to get a return flash from Faker. He's having nightmares about game number 1 after what's already happening here in game number 2. Another engage down on the bottom side. The hook comes in. Aftershock does wear off, but it is Leona. Still a nice amount of damage comes through as the Q lands from Ruler, and now a bit more going on to Teddy as they will push him back, and the trade is won here by Gen G.
And Kana using the initial priority, I assume he had to go and pick up the Rift Scuttler, denying that from Clade, which is nice, but his own jungler still doesn't get it, and there's a huge wave that is about to hit the turret. Like that owner is in the general vicinity, because if you lose this wave, you are very sad. But Clade, nowhere near, not going to try and set up for a dive.
This wave is gigantic.
Yeah, that's what you get if you are a champion without a stun, as I think Clid dodged that one as well.
I'm pretty sure that he cheater recalled, by the way. I think he picked up 18 of 19 on the first 3 waves. He went back and he walked to lane. He still has his teleport. And we saw that coming in. He picked up a tome. And, you know, it is T1. It does make sense. You know, that...
See the lines.
Yeah, they would cheater recall. And... yeah, it's pretty nice. He actually, you know, the slow push comes back straight to him. He's right there on time. He's able to have some time on the map, as you mentioned, to pick up the Rift Scuttler. And all is right for the top side there, I suppose, for Kana.
And I think both sides are going to be happy with it. For T1, obviously, the Gwen with no flash can be very susceptible to Jarvan ganks, especially now that level 6 is hit. But Clid, being decently tracked between the ward, as well as or the one on spot side rather, as well as the ward that was at his Raptors when he was taking it. So even without the hawk shots actually finding him, they were relatively well aware of where he was at all times. I say, as he's going to ward spot owner, but 1v1ing straight up still not something that I think you want to do. And I wouldn't mind a attempt for Drake here. You know what owner is. And also set up a trap here.
Yeah. Oh, he's backing on Vision.
Yeah, so you just do Drake.
But yeah,
surely.
Looks like that's what they're going to do. I felt like with Faker coming down, although it was a little bit of an obvious roam, and we did see some pings come down from T1, so they're just going to go ahead and take that Drake.
And this also ties into what we saw earlier, which is, again, Ruler alive, blind Aphelios fresh, and they have Prio for basically the entire game. And that is starting to become a problem, right? Because it's the reason why you see Gen G considering for a little bit to maybe go in of an aggressive play, BDD, pathing towards that that jungle, but then like why would we? We can just pick up a free Infernal. Always going to be happy with that with the champions that they have available. A lot of power there. As Rascal sees owner, says hello, backs off again. And that I think is something that again, the lack of attention that's being paid towards that top side is something that you're going to be relatively happy about, because as Kana, if you can just get through this lane, you're going to feel very good in this matchup, right? Like late game, the Gwen absolutely demolishes the set in terms of 1v1, and while set provides a lot of utility. Oh.
It's the second cannon we've seen him miss, actually.
That one hurts.
Missed the one under the turret.
Oh!
That one made Jonah Strong really angry.
He's shooting him as well. He's relentless, Valdez.
Yeah, and now we're just going to have to watch the rest of it.
He won't stand for it.
Okay. Okay. Oh.
Okay, so he gets the other ones, surely.
I should have been looking at the CS number on the bottom.
And as we go, again, we're a big wave, stacked up, pushed in. Herald's about to spawn, and Gen G have the priority on the roam towards topside. Feels like game number 1.
Yeah, feel like I've seen this somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe like a half hour ago. It's kind of weird how this works.
Oh, yep.
And now,
damage going down as well.
You have Vision, you have priority in the river. This allows Zoe to be even stronger. All 5 of your champions are in position. Once again, hello to Zoe.
Oh.
Here we go, the hook comes in, and that is just a dead jungler. How about Keria to follow up? That's 2 free kills, and the Rift Herald might get leashed. Looks like it will, but it's still a gigantic win here for Gen G.
T1, they know you're coming. They're aware. If this is an angle that they might not expect, then maybe you can make that work, but you just walk up to them in straight vision, and that's not something that against most team comps you're allowed to do. Definitely not against the Gen G one. Now another kill for Ruler. Now you give up 2 kills for free. You're going to be on the back foot yet again, and...
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. He doesn't have flash.
Looks like Clit is just going to push the wave and let down the...
It.
Yeah. And that's fine. You know, if Owner just paths up to the top side. Looks like they're not even going to drop it.
Oh, don't need to.
Yeah, he just picked it up. It's fine. And this is very slowly, and at the same time very fast.
It's like, when does that just back off? Like the moment that the damage comes through, what? Why is Owner going in there on his own? What's the call?
You don't have any vision.
You don't?
Except on the right side. You just got hit by
그래,
Zoe.
정말 이렇게 하라고. 좋아. 시원해.
This feels great.
Well, I can imagine. Yeah, if you're Gen G.
Yeah, it's a very refreshing feel to do this once again. And it's only the beginning of Game 2. But again, it always comes down to the severity of how hard you are defeating the enemy team. As Keria going to try again over the wall, and just it's not going to amount to much. Life is right there in position to deny that. You can see that T1, they're trying to be a little bit proactive on the bottom side of the map, but Gen G able to handle that pressure.
And yeah, I think the moment that poke from BDT comes through, again, like it feels so bad to then say, okay guys, back off, we can't do anything here. But I still think that's the better alternative than trying to flip it. Because now you're going to be in a similarly disadvantageous position. There's a lot of gold already on the Gen G carries. Double teleport, still available. They can make a play for Drake, they can make a play and try and dive bot. And you don't have enough pressure, right? Like Rascal can just pick up his wave without so much as a hitch.
Yeah.
And while I think the T1 comps, unlike the one in the last game, still skills exceptional.
Uh-oh. Teddy's taking a lot of damage here, and one more root could have done it. Looks like it was on cooldown. Owner now getting ganked to his own jungle. Keria trying to help, and now all the teleports are coming in. Gen G maybe overextending here just a bit as the stopwatch is here, and Kanas just lining them up. Rascal trying to give his life away for the team, but now BDD's in a rough spot, and finally, T1 gets something on this map as Gen G overextend.
And we criticize T1 rather, for walking in without having enough control, and then Gen G does the exact same thing. Incredible amount of gold that's still in the pockets here, because Rascal hadn't backed. They're going in with 2 people here on the Xin, right? So you know that the damage that BDD is going to provide, not going to really do anything. Really nice ultimate from Teddy there as well to set up, and when you know that the teleport can come through, and Ruler isn't in a position to immediately walk up, no need to go for this. And just like that, T1 says thank you very much. That's a kill to our Gwen, who's now 2-0, and that side lane pressure is going to be terrifying, but the Gwen, of course, with the amount of survivability she has, also going to be a menace in team fights. Whew.
Yeah, shout out to our co-caster Atlas, Cloud Atlas, watching from home, providing us with all the action here with the Cloud Drakes. As we do have it once again, the Cloud Soul coming through for Game 2. We have Gen G down on the bottom side looking to get something done here. They're going to find Teddy, and how about Keria as well? Nobody's got Flash. Teddy had it, but he elects to save it, as there doesn't seem to be any hope for them. Another death sentence will be what happens there. T1 trying to trade back a bit here in the mid lane, but all the plates and the pressure and the kills down the bottom side for Gen G are good.
I think they can even get a second turret here. And like a second turret this early in the game is insane. Clit helping out with the extra attack speed, giving it to Ruler. If they can take this, that is just an incredible amount of gold. There we go. Mid lane turret still standing. Due to the double teleport invested, I actually love this play from Gen G, because while the previous one felt very ill-advised, maybe it was all a long con. I don't think it was. I think it was a mistake, but it works out so they can claim that it was their plan all along, because with those with the teleport being down on Kana, Fake obviously teleport a little bit earlier already, there's no real option to punish. And now Gen G got the gold lead back. A little bit of yo-yoing happening here in the early game, Valdez.
Yeah. It was definitely an overextension, but they still have this Aphelios that is almost 2 champions by now. The amount of gold...
It was a mistake, I know. I'm aware. I don't think you can actually claim that it was a master plan.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of gold that Ruler has right now is pretty insane. We're going to have to take a look at how much he has. I mean, Kana at least is able to shore up some of his own, but now he just moves up to the top side with how early those go down. He's even freezing the lane in front of his turret. He's holding it here, at least for now. It's not going to be frozen. It will push back eventually, but you can see this denies any kind of gank onto him. He's totally fine, and this means that T1 have to come up and push it in.
And another traditional Ruler spot, you know, that is around the tier 1, tier 2 turret. Some are in between. But he clearly respects, knows that there's no vision, no help available, Life was on his way, so just keep the wave in a safe spot, don't walk up. And like I said, unlike last game, I think that T1 is in a much better spot as the arrow.
Oh!
Very nice.
That was a really nice setup there from T1. BDD, great response, great reaction time. He is going to survive, as it could be much worse. Nice buffer there on the flag and drag. Haven't said that in a long time. Is this our first Jarvan of summer?
I feel like because I don't think that Live played it, and outside of Live, no one has played it forever.
I don't believe we've had another Jarvan. As here we go, T1. They say, well, second Rift Herald Towers. You can't deny them all from us. And you don't have flash here on BDD. You're not exactly set up, so at least T1 will be able to take this one down.
And this, of course, the thing that as T1, you're not that terrified like you were in last game, right? I think there, when at the moment you started falling behind, that already it felt so horrible, you know, because the amount of damage available was in the comp was okay, but when it came to actually playing it out, very thin margin of error, not the greatest of scaling on champions like the Renekton, Aurelia from so far behind, doesn't really do a whole lot as well. This game, you have amazing scaling, you have great hard engage, and that's something that I think is going to fill you with a lot more confidence, and this is something that T1 have done consistently, and the reason why I call Rise one of their, I don't think crutch is quite the correct word, because that's a bit more negatively phrased than I intended, but it is something that they love to rely on for finding insane mid-game tempo swings.
Their anchor.
Yeah, anchors may be nicer, because it's something that they highly prioritize and that they make great use of, and it's also a pick that allows Faker to spread his impact over the map. Also the reasoning why we saw the TF ban in the first game.
Yeah.
So as T1, yeah, you took a goal behind. I think this next fight is really key, because despite the fact that Cloud Soul might not be the most valued one, I can assure you do not want Rulers to have more Moonlight Vigils, you don't want Clids to have more ultimates available either. All those things very, 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 very bad. And now you want to try and fight in a straight-up 5v5, and that is something that I think as T1 you're going to be relying on, finding someone or letting Faker and or Teddy do a lot of damage in the engaged fight, but if Gen G rather take control of this river, it can be really hard to walk up with the amount of poke that is still available. Ruler also two great weapons for team fights.
They just barely saw Rascal. They know he's on the left side. Is it going to matter? Here comes the engage. They try to blow up the Zoe, and they will be able to take down BDD immediately. That is a gigantic pick, and now we do have the lockdown from the Rise to take away the Aphelios as well, and that is going to be T1 proactively finding the picks that they need to win these team fights with.
Beautiful engage there from T1 and making use of the power that this comp has to decide themselves when they want to go in. And that is something that I feel like this is the first time that we've seen them do it, and it actually worked out very, very well. And it is a welcome sight as they immediately get the second charge in as well, and it's going to deny the soul point for Gen G. Really nicely done, and the reason why they can go for this, as you so nicely pointed out, is because they spotted Rascal. Because if the set is there and you try to go for that play, you run into Rascal that face plants a bunch of people, slams one back into your team, and then gets a big haymaker off. That fight, not a possibility, but knowing that the set isn't there, T1 not afraid to pull the trigger. Very nice identification of the play there. And that means that now the game basically back to even.
Oh, but Gen G trying to get proactive here on the Faker. Here come the teleports. Nice flag and drag, but is the damage there? Cataclysm committed to, but he's got a stopwatch as BDD is going to come on in. And with the help of Light, pick it off. And actually, Gen G are just outnumbering them here. Kana eventually is going to go down, and all 5 of them came up to the top side by the end of that. As even Ruler shows his face and says, hey guys, what's going on? Looks pretty good. I guess I'll move back to the river.
It's a bloodbath, Elvis. Left and right, continuous action. Dives coming through now for Gen G, identifying Faker out there on his own. And this feels like the second time where And this is a really big difference with the Gen G that we've seen previously. A play goes alright. It goes wrong, it blows up in their face. But unlike the Gen G that we've seen many a time where they kind of lose hope, stop making clip.
Oh, he's running right into it. He has no idea. Ooh. Thankfully, he's playing Jarvan.
Clean.
Welcome back, Jarvan. You've been missed.
It's a really fun pick.
It's an old champion, but it checks out. And you know what? He's been very clean on this so far. This is definitely a pick that he used to play all the time, especially when he came back to the LCK. And yeah, glad to see him pull it out here in playoffs.
They just sit and wait, smile and wave. And here again, yeah, as you pointed out, they spot him and not a lot to be done. It's Carrier that goes for the miracle engage with the flash on top of BDD. That BDD getting a little bit hungry for the poke. And the knowledge that Rascal wasn't there makes that possible, right? So really nice snap decision. And it prevents them from even having to go for a fight in the river for that Drake at all. This very unfortunate situation, one teleport available. And I think that your expectation here is that it is just these two. Unfortunately for T1, if you don't commit Kana's teleport here, it's unfortunate, but not the worst. Now you waste another summoner, Faker and Kana die, and you still lose the turret. So it's definitely a worst case scenario as more scuffling here in the river. And
yeah,
already said it was a bloodthirsty game, and I expect this to keep happening because both these two teams are at their best when they can fight toe-to-toe. The lack of large or rather long range on most of them, BDD notwithstanding, is one of the main reasons. There's not that much non-committal damage that is to be found there for either team, unlike last game where T1, even in the disadvantaged position, could just kind of sit, throw spears, take it easy, you know, try and get some arrows done. But this time, when you go in hard.
It's definitely going to be the case for T1. We'll see how big BDD and Ruler can get, and if their poke amounts to a lot here in this game. Definitely some squishy targets for them to land onto. Even the Xin Zhao, it's kind of annoying for him to play because it's like, as you mentioned, non-committal damage. As an arrow will come in, actually does hit life, and now, okay, we're actually just getting everything in onto this poor Thresh. As there you go, Teddy sees him, I suppose, enter the brush, has the knowledge that he is there for the follow-up.
Won a bet that he was clearing a ward, then cleared the ward, and then just recalled in the brush. That seems very likely. And against,
classic.
Yeah, against an Ashe, not something that you can really afford. Sure, we'll get a replay of that one. Also, mind that Teddy is going for the what I think will be the Rage Blade second, which I really like. We've seen a lot more Ashes opt into the Wits, or yeah, the Wits End as opposed to the Rage Blade. And it does take away a lot of your damage, right? And it is something that provides you a lot of survivability, but into a composition with only a single AP threat, don't think it is quite as much of a necessity, and does mean that especially in a single target situation, it's going to be a lot... No. There we go. Just checking for Baron, and you get a discount deal. You get Thresh as well. It's a freebie. It's a good deal.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I'll order that.
Thresh is worth a lot, so...
yeah, it was 2 and 3.
Definitely a nice little trade there.
Look at this gold grab.
Yeah. It's does look like it is trending up a little bit away from Gen G. This T1 have been taking some big fights. Gen G currently in the lead, but it's like 300 gold, so it really doesn't matter. Comes down to if T1 can use the engage that's in their composition, or will they just get poked away by BDD and then a potential follow-up engage from Gen G. Will come down to execution. Either team can be in a good spot in this game. Gen G checking their flanks, making sure nobody's there behind them, as the arrow will come in, and it is going to hit the Thresh once again. They're just bullying him here in this game. As down will go the support, and that's all you got to do. That Moonlight Vigil is nothing compared to the amount of damage they just did to life, as now it is just the Cloud Drake. You can see the amount of poke is still coming out here from BDD, but it doesn't look like Gen G wants to fully commit, although they are sticking around for just a bit. Now we got Kana on top of Rascal. We got the engage as well. Owner trying to help out on the bottom side, and Gen G able to disengage up on the top side of the fight.
Second time that we see the power that comes through with his hard engage.
Okay. Sever him, trying to get that damage done, but now you're just going to get Realm Warped on as Ruler not able to get the kill. And he just gets flashed away from, and his entire team a bit baited in by this. As Kana, okay, well, he gets away. And that's really all that matters there.
And really nice punish there, again, making use of the Realm Warp, not to pick up an objective, but to pick up a free kill on Ruler. And Gen G, you notice hard engage is available, right? And for the second time, basically get caught off guard, not ready to actually deal with it, and after such a good initial game from Life, the issue of course is that if Life flashes that, it hits someone way more valuable. So there isn't really a good way to deal with that, and with the vision they had available, maybe be a little bit more respectful or have another type of zoning instead. It's a free pickup on Life, and this poke is nice. Oh, Ruler. Of course he goes for it. It's understandable considering the type of player that Ruler is, but it's a beautiful bait by Teddy, who gets very close to dying, but does make great use of the shield bow survivability and is completely fine from the onset, which means that now it's a small gold lead, but a gold lead nonetheless. 2 Drakes against 2. This game, very close, Valdez.
Yeah. And
oh, look at that.
Yeah. As I said, you know, we're trending up.
How many times do you think it's going to go up and down again? Take a guess.
It might just stay here for T1.
Yeah, you think?
I don't know. I think they've been pretty clean the last couple of engages, and I don't know. I'm feeling the momentum heading in their direction.
I think we're going to get one more up and down.
One more?
Yeah. I think it might end up being in T1's favor, but I don't know. I don't buy it yet.
Oh, here we go. And they do have Lantern for the disengage. And here we go, trying to get on in there as well. Look at Faker, the amount of damage he's doing in that back line. And now the Cataclysm just separates Rascal away from his team. He's going to be taken out as well, as the damage not quite coming in there. BDD desperate to try to get anything done. And Ruler, of course, flashless after his play at the Dragon, cannot escape.
An incredible player from T1. And I think you might have been right, Veldas. Maybe we're not going to see that Goldcraft go down anymore. Klid's still alive, though, and that means the possibility for a steal is available. BDD also there. That's 2 smites against 1.
Oh, boy. Oh, you might just want to back away from this one. BDD, I mean, they know that he has smite.
You can't.
Yeah, just back.
Can't do it.
And that is...
Ooh.
That feels bad, but it's the right decision.
And... yeah, the amount of damage that Kana and Faker were able to do in the choke point was revolting, honestly. Again, it was all set up by Faker going very far forward here, but look at this, a combination of these bounces, and then once Kana comes in, able to throw out the needlework, zone both Klid and Rascal completely away, and this is exactly the type of situation Zoe doesn't deal with very well, right? Zoe needs time, and what I'm loving from T1 here is that they're not giving any time. Like, last game, Gen Z did the same. On cooldown, Shurima shuffle, kill Faker. This game, the moment you see someone, arrow or solar flare. Either works.
Yeah.
Whew, barely misses.
Quite literally, like we're seeing it on our screen.
Yeah.
Just as you're saying.
And I love that. I think that's exactly how you need to play, because if you give Gen G actual time and they can get into a position where they can team fight, I think it's not a reason to expect that they might out-team fight you. But if you don't ever let them get there, no issue whatsoever.
Yeah. Carry has been having a great game on this Leona as well.
Insane.
Just perfect engages every time, like the mechanics, there's not really any mistakes being made. He is finding the right target every time as well. Like the play here in the mid lane onto BDD. He sees the Zoe very far up, we kill the Zoe. That time he saw Ruler without his flash, you go on to the Aphelios without flash. And you know, when you say it, it sounds simple, but to be able to be that clean and set it up every time is impressive. Had the follow-up arrow from Teddy as well, hit Ruler straight in the face. So he wasn't able to do anything in that fight. And generally, Aphelios' deal with hard engage, but you need to be in a position to actually kite them back. If you're in the front and you're getting poked down and you're getting stunned, then you're just gonna die because you're a squishy AD carry without any mobility. So, you know, the positioning will be of the utmost importance here for Ruler.
It's going to be a third Drake, and the amount of cooldown reduction that is going to be available for the ultimate is going to become a bigger and bigger problem, right? It might be a full Drake stall, and might I remind you, I talked about on-cooldown arrows and Solar Flash. That's only getting worse, Veldis, and that's not something you're going to feel good about. And whereas in the last game, we clearly saw that the entirety of Gen G was a threat. There was Rascal on the cannon, there was BDD on the Azir, and there was Ruler on the Aphelios. In this game, there is only one. It's really just Ruler. And if you can catch Ruler, game's over, right? Because BDD not in a position where you can solo carry these fights. Rascal, really much more of an enabler than anything else, has the Black Cleave to try and augment Ruler's damage as much as he possibly can. And yeah, Glit's doing okay, but you're not at the point anymore where the Jarvan can reliably take out someone, right? He needs help, he'll be very tanky, he'll bring some damage, but not that's 60 seconds, and that's level 2. So
yeah. And he's close, a couple more levels. I don't know if he'll get there before the next fight, but it's okay. I mean,
I think he'll be fine.
Even the one arrow can be enough. Kana up here on the top side, he's going to take down a top turret. This time we're kind of seeing a repeat from game 1, where there's no vision here around the Baron. And this time it's T1 in the driver's seat, of course.
And this is terrifying, right? Because you need to, you're moving in against a team with so much hard engage. Feels terrifying.
Okay, it seems like they have an idea. Here's the flank from the top side from Kana. As the engage comes in onto Clid, the TP now from Rascal is going to be good. They don't actually find the engage to T1, and they will pull off the Baron. So no big committal from either team.
Nice thing here, though, is that you force a Rascal's flash, or a teleport rather, which now means that you can put Khan in the side lane, have him pressure aggressively. He is at the point where, even if you send through people, there's a risk that he trades 1-for-1, right? Especially with the Ignite level 16 now on the Gwen, incredibly fed, has the level 3 Needlework available, has Stopwatch as well, meaning that if you go in and you don't execute it cleanly, you might still give up a kill. And if you move up, get spotted, and the entirety of T1 just starts a Baron, and Kana gets out, is able to teleport, you're going to have a man advantage there. So, rough situation to be in for Gen G, like the Force, and I'm loving the respect that we see as Ruler.
Ruler, he's got a Lantern and a Dream, and this time he will get away. Bit of a failed wombo combo now from Glid. He just gets himself out of position, and look at those needles going into Ruler. He has to flash away. Another arrow is going to hit life here, as now over the wall, BDD trying to do some damage. They're trying to kite back, and Ruler is still alive, and that's going to be 2 guys that he does take out here. Rascal tanks up a lot of damage. BDD still high on health. Picks up the flash, but at the end of the day, it's still 3 for 3. Teddy trying to kite forward here. Not quite able to land that volley, and we finally see a bit of an even fight, even though that beginning was good for T1.
It's a 2-for-2 trade. The key thing, though, is that when it comes to the summoners invested, I think Gen G definitely on the worst end of that, because now Ruler, both summoners gone, and haven't seen this in a while. But this is a classic example of Ruler getting greedy for the wave. The punishment, or rather the attempted punishment, is there, but they can't actually get close enough. They started Baron?
Guys, come on.
Wait.
I don't know about this. And now take a look at this Gwen. I mean, she's just going to 1v2 you.
Yeah.
And that looks really easy. Teddy's kiting BDD here. The arrow hits them. And, I mean, it looks like they were just actually trying to sneak a 2-man Baron, but there's tons of vision. Maybe they just got out of position. I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to check the replay, but this is going to be big for T1. They're going to get the Baron themselves.
Well, that ought to be it. Baron available now, or Baron now in the pocket for T1 means that they can set up for the Cloud Soul as well. And in a first game that was honestly decided by Gen G's decisiveness and continuous pressure, in this game the exact opposite happens. It's T1 that are continuously the one that are making the plays, that are looking for the punishes, and Kana is doing so much work on this Gwen. And coming into the game, I wasn't sure whether it was going to be enough. Beautiful flag and drag from that, by the way, because that's the only reason why this isn't a complete disaster. If he doesn't fight Faker there, and Ruler dies, and the Baron goes down way earlier.
야, 세트 노텔이야. 야, 여기 테타게 봐봐. 나 위로 갈게. 쫄 수 있어. 와봐.
Come over here.
괜찮아.
It's fine.
나이스. 괜찮아. 나이스.
Nice.
와우! 오, 김컨너. 형 애매 그거.
Kana Kim. And yeah. That was the play. He makes the big play, and This is pretty securely in the pockets of T1. They got one. They got some of those zipper pockets, just to make sure they don't get pickpocketed. They're very careful. They've got this one on lockdown, and I think it's going to be very difficult now for Gen G to come back from this one. They have a fed Aphelios, you could say, but it's going to be very difficult to fight against this pressure now, especially with the Cloud Soul.
As a fan of 5 games, I am overjoyed. This is looking good, Valdez.
This is the way.
This is the way. Because T1 have secured themselves a beautiful position here. And I didn't get the opportunity as we went into the replay, but I was curious how Connor was going to be able to pull off. Because one of the things that I think he's been justifiably criticized for was his relatively shallow champion pool. To then see him on Gwen have this big an impact with, I think, a relative lack of attention, just the way that he played these skirmishes, looking incredible here. So much pressure in the team fight, insane amount of damage. Not afraid at all to just walk up. Rascal.
Yeah, you're on vision. By the way, Ruler, once again, he has to use this cleanse. And that's just free. I mean, look at Keria, the cooldown on his ultimate. It's only halfway. I didn't even complete my sentence.
Yeah.
That's like a 30-second cooldown.
It's 40. Yeah, because now it's halfway and it's 20 seconds. So that's not a lot, Valdez. 40 seconds on a cross-map hard engage tool that combos into everything that your team has.
I think it's less than 40, actually. It's really low, we can say. Well, it's between 30 and 40.
No, I looked at the seconds counting down.
Oh, did you?
Left.
Oh, okay.
And it was maybe it was a little bit less, but it was around 19,
39
seconds.
That's
I think that's that must be what you said.
technically correct.
Oh, Rascal. Well, he has flash.
Yeah,
so.
well, I don't know, maybe you don't even flash here. Okay, he's still gonna do it. He's still gonna die. Owner just goes over the wall. And yeah, you can see the amount of damage that Ruler does, but he hasn't been able to fight a front-to-back team fight this entire game. Just hasn't happened. It was the one time that Clid peeled for him, and that was it. Now T1, they're just going to take everything. They don't even have the Baron buff right now. They don't need it. They're so far ahead.
You don't have Rascal. You can't move up in. You need your sets. Yep. Trying to fight this 4 versus 5 with this deficit is doomed. Could even argue that with set, it will be doomed as last-ditch effort.
Here we go once again. Ruler, he's got a stopwatch, but it's a stopwatch in a dream. They'll be dreaming about game 2 as T1 will be taken down at game number 2 and bring us to 1-1 and keeping this series very interesting as I believe I heard the music start. No, we're not turning on the music yet. Here we go. We jump back into this one and T1 picked up the win.
Gotta go for the tiny hit to the mental barrier. The Ents go in with everyone, and honestly, beautiful game from the bot lane and from Kana. I think that you can make an argument for Kana as well as Keria in terms of how much impact they had in this game. The